It is my pleasure now to introduce a great lady, Georgina Ortega Angel. She came from a family of two generations of migrant workers from the Napa Valley.
Thank you, Emilio. I wanted to emphasize the civil rights movement because in 64, 65, my clearest memory is walking with my mother and protesting with the farm workers and fighting for rights and knowing that there were laws to protect us and they were not being observed. That was the era that I came into understanding that I had a voice. Liberty and injustice for us. What does that mean? That means we are the opposite of the liberty and justice for all. I remember when I was growing up, I'd go with my mother and other women door to door, and they'd be knocking on doors, getting signatures and talking to people about laws that were going to come. I'm talking about civil rights movements, Head Start, health, education, all of the basic standards for people to live in the United States of America. United States citizens who had no voice and who were demanding a voice. And they got doors slammed on them. They were cussed at. Some of them probably got spit on or something, but definitely they were just harassed to the max. Coming from the Napa Valley as a migrant worker, it was very difficult. Most of the migrant camps that we worked in, they were crowded, no water, no sanitation facilities whatsoever. You brought your own water in. But people were very giving. No matter how poor they were very giving. And we worked with people from the southwest all the way down to the frontera of Texas. We met people all over who worked in these camps with us and who were suffering, but accepted it. And I want you to remember that, accepted it. I remember a camp, Morgan Hill, California, picking cucumbers as a 12-year-old, thinking, why are we living like this? Why do we have to put up with this? So one afternoon, I went with my mother to the store. I made a phone call while she was in the store buying whatever it was that we were going to eat. And I called the health department and I asked them, aren't there laws against this? And the person at the other end asked me for the address. Before the end of the day, some of the people from the health department came down and there was the labor law, I believe the employment office, and they shut the camp down. Now I'm naive about a lot of things being young, but I knew a lot still. They closed the camp down and all the families had to leave, which meant they had no work. Being 12 years old, you don't really think that far. My family was upset. My father was angry. I remember getting beaten. And I'm telling them, why do we have to live this way? There's laws. We're United States citizens. That didn't matter because it didn't put food on the table. It didn't put gas in the car for the next camp. So we moved forward. I'm about 14. Los Angeles, California, Chicano moratorium. 20,000, maybe 30,000. There's just so many people that look like me. This is the peak of the Vietnam War, 1971. Our people were being slaughtered. You got drafted, and you were a person of color, black, Hispanic, Native American. You went to the front line, and that was a guaranteed death ticket. And I realized we can demand our rights. We can demand that our representatives have to listen to us. We put them there. So I come back to the Napa Valley, and we're renting a house. Every time you turn the light switch on, no matter what part of the house you were in, you got an electric shock. And like you would get your shoes or you get your stick or something to turn the light on. And every sink or anything that had water, you had buckets under it because it leaked. It was leaking. So my mother gave me the rent to pay the landlady. Well, her daughter, who was also at the same high school in the Napa High, she drove up in her Mustang convertible with her friends, come to get the rent. Well, I gave her a letter. Earlier that week, I had went to legal aid, and I told the attorneys there, the representatives, what were the conditions that we lived in. And I says, that's not right. And they said, you're right. Those are laws to protect people against landlords like that. So they drafted a letter with my complaints and my issues. They took the money, put it in some type of a holding, and I gave her the letter, and she thought she was going to get $100 and go have fun with her friends. Well, the mother showed up within hours, and my mother was upset because she goes, what did you do? They're going to evict us. I says, they can't evict you, Mother, because you fought for these rights and this legislation. I remember all of that. And sure enough, the lady had to go to court, and the judge read all of this stuff, and they had to fix it. We're still having these same issues of having people do the job that they're supposed to do, our representatives, our federal government, everybody, right down to city council. But I have a voice now.